In the uncharted depths of the galaxy, where starlight barely pierced the void, the legend of humanity had already begun to ripple through the worlds of countless civilizations. Tales of their ingenuity, resilience, and sheer unpredictability traveled faster than any official communication, whispered in council chambers and military bunkers alike. Yet few believed the full extent of what humanity could accomplish, and even fewer were willing to test it. The last species that dared to defy humanity had called themselves the Talruni. Towering, multi-limbed beings with chitinous exoskeletons that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, they prided themselves on military dominance and their unchallenged control over several sectors of space. For centuries, their fleets had enforced tribute from lesser species, and their councils had scorned any notion of equal footing with the humans. When word came that humanity had begun to expand beyond Sol's immediate system, the Talruni saw an opportunity to assert dominance. They underestimated the human resolve, as so many others had. The Talruni emissaries arrived at Earth under the guise of diplomacy, though their intentions were transparent. They demanded humans halt their interstellar exploration and submit to a system of tribute, claiming it was a natural order enforced by the galaxy's older, stronger species. The human leadership listened, calm and composed, their eyes betraying nothing. No one in the room spoke of surrender, and the silence of their response was unsettling to the Talruni. They expected negotiation, resistance, or at least fear. Instead, they met a quiet confidence that unsettled even their most seasoned commanders. Weeks passed, and subtle probes began to appear near Talruni space. Human vessels, sleek and oddly compact compared to the massive Talruni dreadnoughts, were observed mapping defenses, calculating trajectories, and testing the limits of Talruni sensors. Unlike other species, humans did not rush to announce their capabilities. They moved deliberately with precision and patience. The Talruni saw the preparations but dismissed them as minor drills, underestimating the humans' mastery of strategy and engineering. When the attack came, it was not with a roar, but with the inevitability of an avalanche. Talruni outposts were neutralized with surgical strikes, communication hubs silenced, their fleets cut off from coordination. Human railguns, weapons powered by magnetic acceleration and capable of firing projectiles across vast distances with uncanny precision, ripped through the Talruni defenses. Each strike was calculated to disrupt, to dismantle, and to terrify without wasting a single resource. The Talruni tried to regroup, but every movement had been anticipated. Humans exploited patterns, predicted maneuvers, and dismantled entire divisions before the Talruni could issue a counter-order. But it was not only the weaponry that struck terror into the Talruni. Human adaptability and unconventional tactics defied all expectation. Boarding parties did not storm vessels in predictable formations. They phased through maintenance ducts, exploited flaws, and outsmarted automated defenses, with a mixture of logic and improvisation. The Talruni had fought countless species and defeated them with brute force and overwhelming numbers. Humans, by contrast, seemed to fight like no one else, blending creativity, cooperation, and relentless endurance in ways that the Talruni could not anticipate. In the early days of engagement, Talruni leaders assumed the humans could be defeated by attrition, by isolating their fleets and destroying supply chains, yet every calculated move the Talruni made seemed to funnel them directly into human advantage. Fleets sent to blockade human colonies found themselves trapped between multiple human task forces, cut off from escape routes, and annihilated before reinforcements could arrive. Outposts that were expected to withstand a siege fell within hours. Every plan the Talruni devised the humans had already countered, not because they were omniscient, but because they anticipated, learned, and adapted faster than any species had a right to. The Talruni tried negotiation once more, hoping that a show of capitulation would halt the destruction. This time human envoys did appear, but there was no malice in their expression, only a clinical calm. They outlined the terms. The Talruni must surrender entirely or face complete obliteration. There was no room for debate, no loopholes, no ambiguous clauses. The Talruni Council, desperate and shaken, attempted to stall, only to find that the humans had already calculated every contingency. Any delay, any hesitation was a further step toward annihilation. The final battle was a testament to human ingenuity. The Talruni's primary fleet, numbering in the thousands, converged on a human colony on the edge of their claimed space. They believed overwhelming firepower would secure victory. The humans did not fight conventionally. Instead, they used decoys, gravitational manipulation, and electromagnetic pulses to disable and scatter the Talruni armada. Railgun strikes tore through capital ships at ranges previously thought impossible. Talruni vessels collided with one another as evasive maneuvers failed against human predictive algorithms. Whole formations vanished without warning, leaving the survivors in disbelief. By the time the Talruni realized the extent of human capability, it was too late. The human fleet, ever methodical, moved systematically through Talruni-controlled space. Cities, military installations, and command hubs were neutralized with unerring precision. No act of aggression went unanswered. No attempt at deception succeeded. The humans did not celebrate their victories, nor did they gloat over the destruction. They simply executed their objectives with unwavering determination. The council chambers of the Talruni, once filled with arrogance and scorn, became a place of silence as the humans approached. Their leaders, now stripped of allies and surrounded by devastation, could only watch as the human envoy entered. Words were exchanged, but not in negotiation or threat. The humans simply stated that defiance carried consequences. The Talruni leadership, realizing the futility of further resistance, could only nod. In the days that followed, the Talruni civilization was systematically dismantled, not in anger but in precise, calculated efficiency that left no room for recovery. Stories of the Talruni's annihilation spread rapidly across neighboring systems. Other species watched in horror and awe, taking careful note of human strategy, their weaponry, and their adaptability. Whispers circulated in council halls. Do not provoke humanity. Do not underestimate them. The last species that tried paid the ultimate price. The lesson was clear and unambiguous. Humanity did not rely on raw power alone, nor on alliances or intimidation. They relied on ingenuity, adaptability, and an understanding of probability and consequence that no other species seemed capable of matching. Even after the Talruni were gone, their former systems repurposed by humans to support interstellar colonies and research outposts. A chilling legacy remained. The memory of complete and utter annihilation became a deterrent in itself. Species that had once considered challenging humanity now hesitated, knowing that to confront humans was to court inevitable ruin. Humanity had not only defended itself, but had redefined the rules of engagement in the galaxy. Conflict was no longer merely about fleets or firepower. It was about comprehension, foresight, and the relentless will to act with precision where others hesitated. And yet, humans did not revel in fear or dominance. Their expansion continued, carefully measured, sometimes even conciliatory when other species were willing to cooperate. But their reputation, now etched into galactic history, ensured that diplomacy was often the wiser choice. Wherever humans appeared, their history preceded them, a silent warning of what happens to those who defy them. The last record of the Talruni civilization, stored in a neutral archive maintained by humans, was brief and stark. It did not detail the battles, the loss, or the flames of annihilation. Instead, it bore a simple notation: defiance of humanity results in total eradication. Was a message for any who might consider testing the resolve of a species that had faced extinction itself and emerged not only intact but incomparably stronger. Across the galaxy, species reevaluated their strategies, their ambitions, and their arrogance. The lesson of the Talruni became legend, a cautionary tale for generations. Humans, by their very nature, were unpredictable, adaptive, and relentless. They could be measured, studied, and observed, but never truly controlled or outmaneuvered. The last species that defied them had learned this truth the hard way, and in doing so, humanity had etched its dominance into the fabric of galactic reality, not through tyranny, but through the quiet certainty that comes from knowing one's capabilities and the patience to enforce them when the time is right. The galaxy learned that day, in silence and awe, that human ingenuity and resolve were forces unlike any other. Those who once laughed at humanity now spoke of them in hushed tones, and those who had never encountered them reconsidered their every assumption. The humans, meanwhile, continued their work, their expansion, and their exploration, aware of their own potential yet unburdened by arrogance. They were prepared for the future, for any challenge, for any species bold enough to test them. And the memory of the Talruni remained a quiet testament to what happens when pride meets a force of nature that refuses to be tamed.